Eric Gott of Triton Fights. I'm their middleweight champion, and this is my MMA news. Well, I don't want to say that I got lucky, because I'd actually worked on that combination for a long time. I sort of caught my last opponent in the first 19 seconds of the fight with a lead hook and then a straight cross as he was sort of going down. And what's real interesting was after that fight, that's a combination I've been working on for a long time. My fight was on a Friday. On the following Sunday, one of those Facebook memories popped up. And the Facebook memory was 3 years earlier with one of my coaches, and I remember specifically that was the day that I started working on the check hook. As a southpaw, your check hook is a real big punch for you as far as countering an orthodox opponent that's coming after you with a two. So you know that your check hook's going to get there because it's a little bit closer to his head than his two is to yours. So I've been working on that combination for 3 years, and I guess that night was the night that the powers to be decided that it was going to work, and it landed, and I was able to put my opponent down, and I got out of the fight unscathed, which is awesome. I didn't even really know what to do at first, because I've never had a fight ended in just a matter of seconds. I've scored some first round TKOs before and things, but they were sort of like, I don't want to say I gutted it out, but I was forcing them. And this was just something that just came together magically and was able to work very nicely for me. I don't know. There's no real feelings that you can't really put it into words how you feel. Yeah, I think I sort of learned to believe in myself and to believe in my ability to strike. It took a long time for me to understand the components of distancing and range and be able to feel comfortable with putting myself close enough to my opponents to where my punches will not only land, but they'll land and be able to go through them. And I worked a lot with Ryan LaFleur for that fight, with my striking, and I always work a lot with Keith Trimble, and the combination of those two guys have really improved my striking and brought me to another level, where it's now I feel comfortable. I don't want to say striking with anyone, but I feel much more comfortable than I had in the past. It's real weird. I don't really know that I ever have like an absurd amount of confidence, or having the belt gives me more confidence. I actually I prefer to be like an underdog. I sort of like feeling like I'm trying to fight my way up. And that's the way I'm approaching this fight, and that's the way that I approach pretty much all of my fights. I never think that I'm going to have an easy fight, and I never really feel like, oh, I'm the champ, this guy can't do anything to me. It's always just about, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and maybe some of my stuff works out well for me and the fight goes quickly, and I get out and I don't have any real injuries, or maybe the fight turns into a real barn burner and I have to try to gut out a W at the end, sometimes in the third round, which I've done too. And I mean, what I think about most is getting in there and getting out. Hopefully I don't get hurt, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt either, because he's just another dude that's just like me. And as somebody, I've been hurt before in fights, I've had some significant injuries, and I don't want to have my opponents have any of those injuries either, just because they shouldn't have to go through it. I mean, we're fighting right now, we're amateurs, but even as a professional, you don't want somebody banged up for months after a fight or have to go through surgeries. I mean, it's a terrible place to be. Like, who the fuck wants to do that for a job? It's what I do, so she supports me, but she obviously doesn't like it. My mom doesn't like it. My grandparents don't like it. I mean, it's just part of the game. I mean, nobody wants to go see their loved ones go out and put themselves in jeopardy. And I don't know, I just sort of equate it to the fact that, yeah, it's dangerous, and yeah, there are some injuries involved, but it's not like I'm racing drag cars or I'm doing something that I feel like death might occur. I'm not a skydiver. And I feel like those are the types of things that you should really be worried about. And yeah, I play some sports, and I might have an injury or two, but that's not the biggest deal at the end of the day. Well, I actually train at two gyms, and the second gym I train at is even further. It's in
Right,
Belmore. I train at Belmore Kickboxing Academy with Keith Trimble. And Long Island MMA, if I'm putting my foot on the gas, I can get there in about 35, 40 minutes. But when it comes down to it, if you want to be good at something, you have to do that, whatever it is that you're doing, with people that are better than you. And not just instructors or people that can sort of like tell you what to do better, but people that can show you what to do better. And I take a lot away from these guys, both at Long Island MMA and Belmore, because we have all these guys that fight in the UFC. We have all these serious, tremendous athletes, NCAA champions, former collegiate standouts in all types of sports from all areas. And you sort of, you get an idea as how to carry yourself, how you should live, and how you should structure your life in order to be successful in the sport you want to do. And for me, that's MMA. So I can look up to a guy like Ryan LaFleur that has 2 children, a wife, a beautiful home. He has a gym that he manages and runs, all while balancing a career as one of, like, I don't know what he's ranked now, but he's in the top 15. I think he was top 10 at one point, but it's a guy that's a top athlete in the world, and I can use him as a role model to sort of like structure my life after. And then you have other guys like Chris Wade or Gregor Gillespie, these guys that are tremendous wrestlers, guys that you see making these tremendous sacrifices to get to where they want to get. And I can sort of bounce questions off of them, and I have them available at my disposal. These are the guys that I train with, these are the guys that I hang out with, these are the guys that, like, some people have their coworkers that they talk to in the break room. These are my coworkers. My coworkers are Costas Philippou. My coworkers are Gian Vellante. My coworkers are Dennis Bermudez, Ryan LaFleur, and these are the guys that I shoot the shit with, and I see what they're eating at lunch when they're getting ready for a fight. I see what they're eating at lunch when they're not getting ready for a fight. And I sort of, a little bit of that rubs off on you. You take the good, you look at the bad, you think about things, and you try to just take it all in and make your best self out of it. Austin Wolfson, I did a whole bunch of rounds with him getting ready for this fight. He's a real powerful guy, never gets tired, really never gets tired. And you'll go in there with him, and you're just like, you just know, especially if he's a fresh guy coming in on you, you know you're going in there to fight this guy. And he's coming at you 100%, and I'm in there, you might be a little bit tired. Sometimes you just got to pretend you're not tired and just go out there and do it, get your round done. Well, those are the guys that you get better at fighting when you go against. Guys that are around your level, guys that might be one level under you. Like if I'm out there and I'm going with some professional fighter that has like 35 fights, those guys are improving you by bringing them up to your, by bringing you up to their level. When you go with guys that are around your level, that's when you're practicing your new things. You're practicing the techniques that you learned in class. That's when you're practicing your strikes and the combinations that you work with your coach, because you're not really trying out your new material on your Ivan Drago type opponents. Like, if you learn a new combination from your striking coach, I'm not going to go in there and try that out against Costas Philippou or Ryan LaFleur, because those are the guys where you got to go after them with your bread and butter. You got to use the things you're good at against them. But when I'm training with guys that are on my level, that's where you start to experiment with new movements, different patterns, different sequences of attacks. And that's what you gain from the people that are around your level. You gain the experience of trying new things, and you gain hopefully some new bread and butter moves that you can utilize in fights and utilize against guys that are better than you. I don't know, when I was a kid I used to like to fight. And I got into, we'll say, a couple street fights when I was a kid, I guess you could say. And there's just like a rush of excitement and endorphins and adrenaline that you really get from it that I've never really gotten from other sports. And I mean, I don't know, I didn't really do a lot of sports as a kid, and the sports that I did do were all team sports. And so you're always sort of shared in the victory. I mean, unless you were the guy that scored the winning goal, you weren't the person that made for the win for the day. So I always just took a liking to fighting and confrontation and things like that, because there's always a winner or a loser. It's usually definitive. I don't want to say that it's not a team effort, because obviously I have two really great teams that help me out a lot. But when you're in there, it's you. It's on you. How many times have we seen a guy that's supposed to be like the best fighter in the world or a great fighter go out there into the ring and then just can't hold it together, and some other guy's able to defeat him? And should he have won? Yeah, everybody thought he should have won, but he didn't, and that was on him. So I like that focus sort of on yourself. I mean, it's real uncomfortable, and I think that being uncomfortable is really the only way to grow and make yourself better. And that uncomfortable feeling and that willingness to put yourself out there really separates you from I don't want to say from normal people, but it separates you from other people. It's just, I don't know, fighting is the only way. It's just you and that other guy in the arena, like that, what is it, the man in the arena? It was a Teddy Roosevelt speech. I don't know it offhand, so I don't want to butcher it up. But it's only the man in the arena is the one who knows how it feels to be in there. Everybody else can sort of say what they want from the peanut gallery. And I sort of feel that like fighting has to be like that. You have to want to do it. You can't do it to get rich, because most guys don't get rich. Even guys that are at the top aren't rich. Hopefully you just make a couple extra bucks to put in your 401k, or you could buy your house and pay your house off or something like that. That's almost, aside from Conor McGregor, that's all that you can really hope for, is for being like a UFC fighter or whatever.
Well, and then like for love of the game, like you're putting in relentless hours training. You have a family with a baby on the way. You work full time. I guess mentally, how do you balance all that mentally and not fatigue yourself? Because being fatigued mentally and is a lot different than being fatigued physically.
I've always been somebody that's a type A personality on the go, so I've always had a tremendous amount of, I guess, mental fortitude as far as like moving forward and balancing a lot of things. I find myself, like after the fight, like next week, I'll probably be bored and I'll just start loading up my schedule with more things, because I won't be training as much, and I'll have this like lapse in the free time that I'll have to fill up. But as far as balancing it all, I'd say compartmentalizing is a real important trait that people should work on. I'm big into compartmentalization. When I'm at the gym, while I'm there, I'm focused, and people always say focus. It's like almost cliche now, but when I'm at the gym, I'm focused on getting better in training. I'm not joking around with the other guys out on the mat. I'm not joking around when I'm in the cage. Basically, I'm there to make myself the best fighter that I can be. Afterwards, I'll hang out for a little bit, sit on the mat and talk, but when it's time to work and time to focus, that's what you do. Then you leave the gym, you go to your job. When I'm at my job, you focus and you work on getting the job done. I'm not like one of those guys that likes to hang out. I'm one of those super driven people that wants to get the most work done as possible and get to the end of the day and feel like I accomplished something. And then when work's done, I come home, and then it's time to spend with the family. And you know what, you take little breaks. I meditate. I try to meditate at least twice a day just to recharge the batteries. While I'm in the car driving back and forth to training, I'll listen to podcasts, sort of zone out, listen to some music, but compartmentalizing, keeping everything separate. When it's time to focus, you focus. When it's not time to focus, you don't focus. You just relax, sort of zone out, and let yourself recharge the batteries. I don't know anything.
No, okay.
I know he's an orthodox fighter. He's on a 3-win streak right now. I watched one of his fights. I'm actually going to watch a couple more of his fights later today, probably. And other than that, I don't really know a lot. And I don't really like to know a lot about them. I mean, I've fought guys before that I've known fairly well, and I just look at it as like almost like wasted mental energy trying to like figure out things about guys Like I know other fighters that will look up somebody's Facebook and they try to figure out like everything there is to know about them. And yeah, I'll do that after the fight, but right now, I mean, if it's not pertinent, it's not pertinent. And I only try to deal with what's real and what's necessary. Anything else is just wasted brain power and wasted space in my mind. And I'm not trying to waste time or waste space or waste brain power. I only got a limited amount. I only got this much juice for the day, so I try to spend it on things that make my life better. For this camp, I've spent a lot of time in sauna with dry heat because I've been reading some studies and doing some research that it affects your blood plasma levels and it increases your blood plasma and increases your red blood cell count. So I've spent a significant amount of time in saunas during this camp, which I hadn't done previously. So that's essentially the only thing I've changed for this camp. I try to leave everything somewhat the same and maybe tweak one thing each time to see if it's something that I'll keep in the future or I'll take out and try something new. And I'd like to try yoga. I actually have been tossing the idea around, and I think that that's one of the things that I'll be utilizing to fill my schedule up next week after the fight will be some yoga, just because I'm 34 now and I'd like to increase my flexibility or at least maintain it. And I've heard that yoga is real great for that, and I've never tried it before. I'm a little scared because I'm 6'3" and I'm long and lanky, and I don't know, some of those poses look real hard. Yeah, that's what I would hope too. I mean, anytime you can do something that stretches the body out and makes everybody loose and relaxed and prevents injuries, I mean, it's a win-win situation. I feel like it's up to the fighter to give the other person the mental edge.
Okay.
That's what I feel like happens, to be like 100% honest with you. And sometimes you'll watch in UFC fights where you could tell that both guys, neither one gave up the mental edge. And it's almost like two knights going at it and they're banging their shields against each other and trying to hit each other. And it's almost like who can keep that mental focus going longer until the other guy breaks. But as far as like anything I do, I mean, I don't really like try to psych the guys out or anything like that. Occasionally, if I see that somebody's getting tired, I'll stare at them between rounds just to like let them know what's up. Like, oh, this guy, he's ready to come at me again. He can't wait till this little break ends and we can get fighting again. But I mean, other than that, I don't really like try to stare my opponent down or like not look away or look away. Like, I don't really care. I don't know. When we go out there, I'm not really concerned with like what they're thinking at all. I just sort of know I'm going to come in and smash this guy, and that's going to be. I think the fact that I'm real awkward. I think my awkwardness is probably one of my best qualities. I'm pretty tall for my weight class, and I'm a southpaw, which makes me fairly uncomfortable for most people to strike with. And on the ground, I'm very long too. And most people just don't have sparring partners or training partners that have my physical build, so it's a little bit more difficult for them to get reps in against a guy that's my size to prepare to fight me. So I feel like, just statistically speaking, the fact that I'm a super long southpaw and makes me more awkward for everyone to fight, I think that's probably like one of my best attributes. I mean, I don't like to make predictions. I mean, who knows? I mean, at this point, it might be my last fight ever. I don't know. We'll see. It just depends on how this goes and how I feel afterwards. I'd like to fight professionally, sort of just like to say I did it type of thing for myself when I'm older. Like when I'm in my 60s or 70s, I want to be like old and have a scotch in my hand and a cigar. And like, oh yeah, I did some pro fights back in the early 2000s, but I mean, I don't know. I just sort of take things one day at a time, just having fun with it. Lately, I've really liked being a father. It's probably like one of my favorite things to do. And I didn't think that I was going to like doing it. I never really wanted to have children growing up. I always thought that maybe I wouldn't get married and I wouldn't have kids. And then, I won't say that I was forced into having kids, but I sort of realized that when you're older and you don't have a lot of grandchildren around or children and grandchildren around, that your life sort of gets stagnant and the kids bring joy. So I figured that I'd have some children because later down the road they'd be able to keep me occupied, and then I just sort of like deal with it in the meantime. But now I find myself to really enjoy being a father. I love having my son Max is 2 years old, and I'm gonna have another daughter that'll be born in July, and it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences in my life, if not the most rewarding experience. My life's not done yet, so maybe I'll have something that's more rewarding, but as of right now, it's been the most rewarding experience that I've had so far. I'd like to thank Rich Schaefer. He's an attorney that trains with us at Long Island MMA. He's a real great guy and big supporter of the sport and many Long Island athletes. I'd like to thank Municipal Land Survey, which is my father's company, and they do title surveys for homes, construction, building, all types of surveys in New York and the Long Island area. I'd also like to thank Oasis Cosmetics. It's actually a buddy of mine's company, and I'm helping promote them a little bit. They don't even have product for sale yet, but I'm putting them on my shorts and I'm trying to get them out there. They make men's shaving gel and shaving products, and I was just actually talking to someone about them the other day. I was never real big into shaving, and I always got real bad razor bumps, and I've tried everything, all the different like gels, everything from going to get the hot shave at the barber shop to every potion from Rite Aid that you could possibly put on. And my buddy said, I'm coming out with this super high-end shaving cream that's going to be moderately priced. You got to give this stuff a try. He said, I have real sensitive skin. I know you've been walking around with the razor burn for years, Eric, so I'll give you a sample. And he brought it to me last week, and the stuff like blew me away. I got no bumps. I got no redness on my face right now. So Kyle at Oasis Cosmetics, I think they're oasiscosmetics.com online. But their product will probably be rolling out in the next month, but check them out. I'll be promoting them on my Instagram a lot. So any people who got the sensitive skin, make sure you check them out. Sixth Borough Podcast, that's my weekly podcast that I'm a part of, along with the other hosts, Yarborough, Dave, and Lunchbox. You've been on it before as a guest, and we'll probably have you on again. We're moving into our new studio. It's actually where I'm going right after this. And we're getting our studio set up down in East Patchogue, so that'll be real cool. Hi, I'm Eric Gott of Triton Fights. I'm their middleweight champion, and this is my MMA News.